Hello guys, this is Mateus Asato, and today I'm here on the Dario's YouTube channel to talk a little bit about how I practice pentatonics and how I incorporate that scale over my soloing. I'm going to divide this pentatonic workout in 3 steps. The first step is about memorizing all the shapes, getting familiar with the fretboard, the sounds, and the finger positions. The second step is about adding fragments over those shapes. And the third step is adding more flavors over the pentatonics in general, so we could take that to a next level. What I just played was 5 shapes of D minor pentatonics being connected. By the way, on this video we're just gonna go over minor pentatonics, okay? Anyways, the reason why there are 5 shapes is the cage system. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be talking much deeper about this topic, but thanks to the cage system, I'm able to visualize the neck in 5 positions, 5 areas. And this is position number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. And now, connecting that into pentatonics. This is the shape number 1. Number 2. Number 3. 4, the most famous. And 5. So what I ended up normally doing is I randomly pick a key, especially the ones that I'm not very comfortable with, and then I start practicing those shapes in that key. So for example, C minor, then I'll be just playing that over and over. And if I'm not happy with the way I'm playing one of those patterns somehow, what I do, I just concentrate, on that pattern, and then I start repeating and practicing that over and over and all over the neck. So for example, imagine that I'm not happy with the way I was playing the shape number 2 of the minor pentatonic in C. So I'll be just doing this. Until I get very satisfied with the clarity of the notes. Another thing that I highly recommend doing is to start messing around with different rhythm varieties. So you could just focus in one pattern and then you mess around with the notes in different groups, like groups of 4, groups of 5, and so on. Alright, now moving on to the next step. Once I get familiar with all the mechanical stuff, now I memorized all the shapes and the fingers are very comfortable. I start forcing myself to visualize the neck more horizontally instead of just vertical up and down, because I feel that if I start messing around with the different point of view, I can sound a little bit more musical, add more richness over my playing. So I start challenging myself, putting myself in situations where I imagine that I only have 2 strings on my guitar and how can I make it musical, So this is when I start adding different types of techniques and motifs and things like that. So I'm gonna mess around a little bit so you can see. Okay, now the final step for me is to add more colors over the 5 notes of the pentatonic. So this is when I start adding the use of the blue note a little bit more, the chromatic passes, like for example, so let's say we're here in the key of B minor. So this is already the blue note here, right? But I could also add like this sort of chromatic lines like this, or this chromatic notes, so you could add like which I find really nice, like And this is when things start, getting way more fun, and that's what I meant by taking the pentatonics to a next level sort of thing, because you're just adding more flavors, And another thing that I find really cool, but you have to be a little bit careful about it, is like messing around with the half step down, half step up sometimes. So, for example, still in the key of B minor, we could do something like this, where you go to the B flat minor shape and then goes back and resolve in a nice way, And here I actually use the blue note, but I could also consider like the C minor pentatonic too, in a way of. So I love messing around with these sort of things, Another thing I like to do is to incorporate the double stops into the pentatonic. There's this lick that I always play, and it's literally just a regular shape 4 of pentatonic, but I add the double stops on it. So here on key of, C sharp minor. I love playing that kind of stuff. Okay, I think this is it for me. I know this is a way more complex topic that we should be discussing forever. Pentatonics is very useful. I think, it's the most important scale. It's the scale that speaks the most to me. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you could understand a little bit of my perspective over pentatonics. And yeah, thank you so much, Dario, for having me. Hope I'll see you soon.